Hey everybody, welcome along to episode 178 of Percussion Discussion Podcast. Please check out all of our social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and of course our world famous YouTube channel where you can find all of our conversations past and present. These have the video to accompany, so you'll be able to see us as well as hear us. Please subscribe. There's no adverts on there. It just helps grow the channel. You know the deal. Likewise, if you want to listen as a podcast, then these are all free to download from your favorite podcast providers. Please rate and review. It makes a huge difference. I know it doesn't seem like much to you, but to me it's absolutely massive and I really appreciate it. On to today's guest. I've been really looking forward to this one. I've hassled him and chased him around for a little bit. He is a drummer, but he plays a slightly different role, has done for the last 30 or 40 years. He has provided the cream of the crop, drummer-wise, with professional standard equipment, from the late great Jeff Porcaro through to Josh Freese, through to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. He provided Metallica with the Gretch kit, famously, that the Black Album was recorded on, and of course the Terminator, the bell brass snare that was used on some iconic recordings such as Nevermind by Nirvana and plenty of others. We're going to talk about it. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome the drum doctor himself, the fantastic Mr. Ross Garfield. Ross, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it.
I'm happy to do it.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now, I'm sure there'll be maybe one or two people, no more than that, looking at us and going, who's this Ross Garfield guy? They'll soon find out who you are, but you've got kind of a rich history in drums. I'm guessing Los Angeles, has that always been home for you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been doing this, I don't want to give your age away. I don't know your age, but you've been doing this a good while now. Do you want to tell us, just if you can sum it up in a few words, what you do, and then we'll get into some details.
Well, I started in '81 with Drum Doctors. Before that, I was playing in bands and touring and doing that sort of stuff. But I wasn't making very much money doing it. I was basically having a good time. I was in my early 20s and went out on the road and had a lot of laughs and came home and barely paid my bills. And that was fun for a while. And I was living up in the woods in Northern California. So I think my rent back then was $250 a month. Wow. And I was living in a little cabin up in the woods. It was all wood burning stove to heat the place and stuff. And it was glorious. It was a great little life. I was about a mile from the beach and in a little meadow surrounded by redwoods. And I could hike down to the beach with my dogs, and it was great. But I was playing with a band up there, and we toured for 4 or 5 years and made a record, but it never really amounted to much other than having a good time. And I moved to LA, and I figured if I was the big fish in the small town up there, maybe I could be a medium-sized fish in LA. And then I realized that people like Jeff Porcaro and Vinnie Colaiuta and Jim Keltner lived here.
The Sharks.
I was smart enough to realize that I wasn't able to compete with those kind of guys. They were just mind-blowing at that point. So I decided that I would take the understanding I had of what a drummer needs and what makes a drummer's life better in the studio and make it into a business to take care of those guys. And I got lucky, and Vinnie Colaiuta was my first client. And back then he was doing at least one session a day, sometimes as many as 3. I think once or twice, I think we even did 4 sessions in a day. Wow. Where would do we would do like a TV scoring date in the morning where I'd have to have the drums there at like 7:30 for a 9 a.m. hit. He'd be done there by noon or so. And while he was tracking that, I was over setting up another set somewhere else for him. get that one going, and then go back and pick up the first set, and like that. And I worked for Vinny for about 20 years, and uh, by working with him, it showed me the inside of a lot of studios, and I met a lot of engineers and producers, and they saw what I could do, and then the word started spreading like that. And then when I was working for Vinny, I was working at Ocean Way. I think I was in Studio B with Vinny, and Jim Keltner was working in Studio A, and I bumped into him in the hall, and I started telling him what a big fan I was of his work, and he liked the idea, and he took my phone number and he called me, and I'm still working with Jim to this day. I mean, we've been working together for like probably close to 40 years. So I started it in '81, and it just grew exponentially every year. I was the first 5 years, I was doubling my income every year.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, and I felt like, I was working my ass off, but I was doing something I loved, and working with cool people, and in a nice environment too. When I'm working in a studio, it's a nice place. They have espresso machines and kitchens and people to go run and get you lunch or something if you want something. So there was nothing to complain about. And the word spread that I had, a talent for tuning. And the fact that I was working for Vinny and Jim, and one day I got a phone call from Jeff Porcaro, and he basically said, Keltner said good things. I want to see what you're up to, what you're about. So he said, hey, I got a session next Monday. What would you bring me? And I knew he was a Pearl endorsee, but I went out on a limb and I said, I'd bring you this nice old set of Gretsch drums I have. I'm pretty sure I've got your sizes. And he goes, done. Bring them. I'll see you Monday morning at 9 a.m. And I got there I got there before the studio was open. I was waiting in their parking lot when the guy got there to open the door. So I got the drums set up, and I got him set up and tuned. And by the time Jeff walked in, he walks in and he goes, let me see what you got there. And he sits down at the drums, goes around the drums a couple of times. He goes, you've got the gig.
Wow.
So that was the beginning of my time with Jeff. I worked for Jeff until he passed. And that was brutal. That was a brutal time to live through, because here was a guy, got to a point where I was working with him almost every day. And Jeff was that kind of guy. He would work until he felt like he was a little fried, or he would feel that he'd spent too much time in the studio and he wanted to spend the day with his kids, and he'd turn down work. And I've never seen a drummer turn down work. Uh, but Jeff would do it, and he'd throw it off to someone else and say, "Hey, call Keltner for this one, or call Mike Baird, or whoever else he thought was appropriate for the gig." But we became pretty tight, and for a 39-year-old guy to drop dead.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, I was on the phone with him probably 2 hours before he passed, and he was fine. We were talking about building a custom set for this tour behind the record, and I get a phone call at 7:30 the following morning, and it was just devastating. It was like, I mean, it brings tears to my eyes even to this day when I think about it. But yeah, we were really close, and he was a lot of fun, and just the definition of cool. He was a very cool guy. He went out of his way. I mean, and he did this for other people, as I hear other stories. But he would he would go out of his way. Like one day, I was working all day long with other people, and he goes, dude, he calls me. He goes, stop by my house on my way home, on your way home. And I said, okay, cool. What's going on? He's like, I want to introduce you to somebody. So I stopped by his house, and he's hanging out with Bruce Springsteen in his studio. He had a garage that he converted into a little studio. And he said, he goes, Bruce, I want you to introduce you to Ross, vice versa. He goes, Bruce, if you ever need drums, this is the guy to talk to. And so he did stuff like that, and just out of the kindness of his heart. He was just a really good guy. And so I mean, and life went on after he passed, but it was rough for, I want to say, like 3 or 4 months. Just the it was a shock. But you know, but other people came into my life. I started. I was actually hanging out with Vinny at a NAMM show when Josh Freese came up to us, and he was a kid at that point. He was like a 12 or 13-year-old kid who was playing in the Simmons booth. He was doing a demos where he kind of was doing kind of like a Terry Bozzio kind of setup. When he was like 12 or 13, you know, and he hadn't had his last growth spurt yet. He was still like just up to my shoulder, and he idolized Vinny back then. And after he hung out and was like, you know, basically wanted to hang out with the old guys, basically, you know, and then he had to go do his little demo. And when he left, Vinny turned to me, he goes, "Watch that kid. He's really good." And Josh has turned into a monster player. We've worked together on so many projects I can't even remember them all, but just one after the other, and stuff that people don't even know he worked on. You know, he's worked on stuff that he didn't put his name on because it was too commercial. You know, but yeah. So Josh, we go way back.
So
He called me
the best. You can't get any better than that.
Oh, dude! I mean, Josh was great then. I mean, when he was a teenager, I mean, he was phenomenal, and he's only gotten better. And playing in a band like, I mean, he'll play with Nine Inch Nails, and then he'll play with Perfect Circle, then he'll play with Devo, like all in the same summer. You know, and then being in Dave Grohl's band. Yeah. Imagine being the drummer in Dave Grohl's band. You'd have to have your shit so tight because you know that Dave is a monster player.
Yeah,
and so that only sharpened Josh's technique even more, in my opinion.
Ross, I have to ask, right? During this period, the early period, was it just you? You were on your own. That was it. And did you have a shop and things at that point, or were you?
Yeah. I started it out of my garage, but once I got serious, I don't think Vinny was with me. It didn't really get serious until Vinny came aboard, because that gave me it legitimized my thing. I wasn't just a guy working out of a garage somewhere. So I had a little shop in North Hollywood when I was working with Vinny, and that way people could come to the shop, and I would store people's gear there. Like I kept 2 or 3 sets for Vinny there, and then Jim had for the longest time, Jim was using my stuff. Mm-hmm. So what's going on here? I don't know what's going on with the Zoom here, but yeah. So it was just me for a while, but I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it got to be too much, where I was getting like not enough sleep, and it was getting to a point where it was really burning me out. So I brought in a guy, and And I built it, and then I got to a point where I built it up to a point where I had a crew of 7, and I had 2 liftgate trucks and 2 vans, and I would send out 3 crews in the morning for, a combination of deliveries and pickups depending on where they were going. And then I had one of the vans, and I would hit other rooms. And it was quite a machine back then. There's days where we'd hit like between 12 and 15 rooms in a day. And a lot of them were, what I would do is I'd have my guys go out and drop the drums off and get them set up, you know, basic setup. And then I'd show up later and do the fine tuning on them, set them up and work with the producer and the engineer to get the sound, and, and work with the drummer to get his angles right and get all the drums exactly the way they wanted to play them. But it's quite a system.
Wow. So you had to have, well, I was going to say you had to have a bit of trust in the people you employed, but if they weren't doing the fine tuning stuff, I guess, as long as they were reliable and could basically set a kit up, then good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I went through a lot of guys. I mean, there's a lot of guys who worked for me for 2 or 3 months, and I realized they didn't have what it took. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys probably have nasty stories about me for firing them after they screwed up a setup somewhere or were late. If one of my guys was ever late, they were gone. It's because this city does not. I mean, it's okay if the artists are late, but the guys who set up the drums can't be late. We have to be on time and be ready for when, stuff has to roll.
Yeah, of course. And how soon did you get into obviously buying gear? Because lots of people have seen footage of your amazing warehouse space, and the drums you have is just mind blowing. So how soon did you start acquiring kits? Whatever you want to say.
Well, before I started it, I started acquiring kits.
Yeah.
So by the time I started the company, I had 6 sets, and it turns out I had really good taste, because of the 6, 4 were Gretsch and 2 were vintage Ludwig. And there's probably some rental companies that's all they have, is 6 sets. But I got to a point where I saw what was working, and I said, well, if people keep asking for, vintage Black Beauties, I'm going to keep acquiring them. So I probably have 24 vintage Black Beauties, somewhere around there. I very rarely sell them. If I buy them, I hang on to them.
Sure. And these, this fascinates me. Do you have a go-to Black Beauty, or are they pretty much universal sounding? They do the same thing?
Oh, some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
Some of them are better than others. There was one that Jeff Porcaro used to really love. So he would call me and say, whether he was using one of his kits or one of my kits, he'd be like, bring me that Black Beauty. He would say, you know the one. So there's always one that he liked. So I put a 1. I wrote 1 on the side of it to know which one it was. So I still have that drum with that piece of tape on it that he used to use all the time.
And I'm guessing you were buying at a time when prices weren't through the roof like they are now. So you've got a lot of that stock at what would be seen as really cheap these days, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, if you're buying gear, 30 years ago, it's appreciated quite a bit. Yeah. I still have, besides the Black Beauties, I got into the early Tama Bell brass drums.
Oh, yes.
And I had one that came to be me. It came, someone knocked on my door, and they just happened to have a really cool drum, and they needed money. I bought it, and that turned out to be one of the prototypes that Tama made of the bell brass. And that's the drum that was on Nirvana's Nevermind and Offspring's Smash and quite a few records that were important and important to my career. Drum sounds that people paid attention to. You know, they were like, "This is cool. We want that." So every once in a while, I'll get a crazy phone call. Like one time, Hans Zimmer. You know who Hans Zimmer is?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so one time Hans
He's on
Zimmer
tour
called.
in the UK actually, as we speak.
Yeah, if you ever get a chance to meet him, tell him that we spoke. He's a good guy and a friend. One time he called me up and said, "We're scoring this movie, and we want a drum sound like what Metallica had on the Black Album." I said, "Well, I have those drums right here. I'm looking at them." And he was floored. He was floored that he could have the exact drums they used for the Metallica record, and that was for Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. So every once in a while something like that comes around. And kind of they'll use someone will call me with a reference, and turns out I worked on the recording that they're sending me as a reference.
Well, that's going to make you smile.
Yeah, you do it for 40 years, things like that are bound to happen.
Oh, I mean, the bell brass, which is, I know it's nicknamed the Terminator. That's got to be one of the most famous snare drums in history now, has it not?
If not the most famous, probably the most valuable.
Yeah, well,
I've had some very large offers on that drum.
We know the value of bell brass drums without that history behind them. So, yeah, I can only imagine. Well, I probably can't imagine, to be fair.
At least a factor of 20. I've had some really large offers, and I haven't sold it yet. So I'm hanging on to it.
It's like selling a family member, that surely.
Yeah, well, not quite the same, but first of all, it's cool that I still have it.
Yeah.
I like the fact that I still have it, and I have standing offers, and I've been speaking. There's people out there that collect for the provenance of stuff, and I've been talking to them, and they're like, their advice to me was, don't sell it, because in 10 years, the thing could be worth way more than what it's worth now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there may be a day.
Yeah. And does the drum still go out? Do you still allow it to go out for sessions?
The thing is, at one point I had 11 of those. Mm-hmm. Okay. The main one, the actual one that was called the Terminator, I still have, and I will put it on a session, but it comes and goes with me. So I'm there the whole time the drum's there, because it's just too valuable to leave it there. And I've had a couple of producers that are like, we want that particular drum, and I have others that sound really close, but they want that particular drum because it was on that on those records. I get that. And they're like, and they're fine. They're fine having me there in tech. I'll tune everything. They're going to have a good day because I'm going to be there tuning their drums anyway.
Wow, just amazing. And obviously, the Black Album kit, which I believe is like Gretsch drums. I mean, that sound. So, were you responsible for the setup, the sound, the tuning, everything on that kit?
Let me give you the exact story on that.
Please.
Those were all my drums that were on that record. They had me there for the first week working with Bob Rock. And then once we got the sound going, then they excused me, and they had Lars's touring guy come in to maintain it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't there for the whole thing, for the whole record, but I kind of got him going.
So you found like the optimum tuning, and he would literally tweak to keep it where it.
Yeah, and and you got to hand it to the guy who's there for him to be able to maintain it. He had skill.
Mm.
The one of the beautiful things about that session, well, first of all, they had my drums for 14 months on
Oh,
that
jeez.
session. That's
Wow.
they set a world's record for the length of a rental, and but that wasn't as important to me as the fact that I became friends with Bob,
Yeah.
and Bob is one of the one of my very favorite people to work with. He's not only does he know his shit, he's a really creative guy. He knows how to treat people. And I consider myself lucky to call him a friend because he is a monster musician. I mean, if you listen to the Black Album, I got called in to Metallica Records after the Black Album with different producers, and I would do my homework. I would listen to the Black Album, and so I'd have those sounds and those arrangements in my head when I went to the subsequent sessions. And the stuff that's in there is, I mean, there's like all kinds of arrangements and strings and stuff that people don't think about on a
Mm.
Metallica record. It's subtle, but it's so perfect and so tasteful. So yeah, I work with Bob on all kinds of stuff. Uh, we've been off and on a Richie Sambora record that Abe Jr.'s been playing the drums on.
Okay.
And in fact, here's let me tie this whole thing together. Um, the Terminator was so popular that uh, Tama decided to reissue it recently. I want to say 3 or 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what I did is I called the guy who's really good with metal, and we took the original Terminator and shot it with a spectrometer and found out what the alloy was. And I built a prototype of that shell, and with the idea that if it was good, I'd build more. And if it was not good, I had another cool snare drum.
Hmm.
It was a good experiment.
Hmm.
It turned out that it was real good. And the first session I took it to was with Bob Rock and Abe Jr. on this Richie Sambora session, which we did over at East West, I believe. I think it was East West Recording. And so it was a great room. Bob was there with his great mic selection. Abe is one of the very best and one of the kindest people on the face of the earth. And I said, I got a drum I want you guys to listen to. And they both flipped on it.
Wow.
At that day they said they both wanted one. And I said, okay, well, here we go. I'm gonna keep the prototype. I made 5 more,
Mm-hmm.
and they all sold within. Once I had them made, once I had them finished, they all sold within a month. But Abe's been using it on tour with McCartney ever since.
Wow.
So that's what Abe's been using up there. We call it T2, as in Terminator 2.
And how close is it?
It's damn close.
Is it?
It's damn close. And it's not nearly as expensive. so, so people can afford it. But I mean, everybody who's heard it is like, hell yeah, count me in.
So what kind
So
of
I
hardware? What hardware do you put on that then, Ross?
custom. I use like I'm using Dunnett throw offs and butt plates, and
So it's purely
uh,
about the shell. That's where that's and the
it's
hoops. I
really
guess.
about it's really about the shell.
Yeah,
I mean, you could put. I mean, I've seen people do. In fact, I've done it for people where they found a bell brass shell. There's a guy in Istanbul, Turkey, that makes a shell that makes a bell brass or bronze, however you want to call it, because there's some controversy about that,
yeah,
but it's real close. And there've been people who've brought me the shell, and they found the Tama hardware, the 1980s hardware, and I basically turned the shell into a drum by putting it all together. So it's the hardware's. I mean, you could put any hardware on the. It's all about the shell.
And what about the hoops? Do they need to be die cast on something like
Yeah,
that? They need to
yeah.
be.
That's part of it. That's part of the sound.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
What,
like on my drums came. I mean, the original bell brasses came with the die-cast brass hoops, and they were a little too tall for some people. So I put the Tama or the Gretsch uh, die-cast hoops on them, and that was the combination that worked in like for Nirvana and Offspring and bands like that.
yeah. How does it feel when you hear these albums? Do you even think about it anymore? When
Oh
like
hell yeah!
when it
It,
comes on,
it, oh dude, when if I'm driving down the road and a song that I worked on comes on, that bring I get chills still.
Hmm.
And I actually play a game. There's every once in a while I'll be listening to a radio station and they might go three or four songs that I worked on in a row. And that makes my day. It's like, hey, I was a part of that. And it's very, gratifying.
Hmm. And of course, the Gretsch drums were now synonymous with the Black Album. How long have you had those drums? And was there something about that kit when you got it that you thought? Because Gretsch drums are great drums anyway. But was there something special about that kit that you thought, I need this? You got to have it.
I was really big on Gretsch from the get-go.
Hmm.
And in fact, I had there were years where I was the number one buyer of all their dealers in the
Wow,
United States.
that's
So I
quite a
bought a lot
statement.
of Gretsch drums. So what I used to do, uh, I had a, I was an authorized dealer for Gretsch from the beginning, and I would order the drums without. First of all, I was ordering without any mounts
Okay.
because my thing back in the early '80s was the Gretsch drums with the rim system on them.
Yeah.
So I would order the drums with no mounts, and then, I'm going to recut the edges and put the rim system and tweak them into my spec. And then I was experimenting for a while where I was just having them send me the shells with the hardware separate, unfinished,
Right.
and
Okay.
I would finish the shells myself. And on those, I would just oil them so that it wasn't even lacquered. So I was trying to, that was the purist in me, because I wanted to see what they were like, and those were experiments I was doing in the early '80s, and those drums still crush. They rent, and people love them, and I don't think that Gretsch makes as good of a shell now as they did back then. So the
And so that exact kit, what era, what decade is that from? Is that
1980,
it's a 1980 kit?
yeah,
Yeah. And it's well, obviously the sound. We all know from Enter Sandman how
yeah.
monstrous it sounds.
Well, it's a great set of drums, but I've had that same drum set with other producers and engineers,
Mm.
and it didn't record as good. I mean, it didn't sound as good as it does on the Metallica record. There's a lot to be said for what Bob and his engineers did. Those guys were, first of all, they were making a record, no holds barred. The Metallica at that point was like, we're going to make a great record. We're going to take as long as we need to do it and spend as much as we need to do to make it. And they succeeded.
Mm.
They made a record that still sounds great when it comes on the radio.
Yeah, definitely.
So a big, I was a part of the team. I mean, it wasn't just the drums, but you know,
Mm.
it
And
was a part.
so that kit now is that as prized as the Terminator? Does that go out still? Is that one that you will say, look, this is what you need to do? This is what you need to take, or is that do you
Well,
kind of guard that one closely?
I'm a little more, particular about who gets that set, and a lot of times, if it's not the right person,
Mm.
they may be renting it, but they won't be knowing that that was the set that we used. with Metallica. But I have duplicates. I mean, I probably have close to 40 sets of Gretsch drums.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up to at the last count because I'm constantly buying and selling. I think I have 423 sets of drums, and I've lost count of the snares. I'm somewhere over 500 snare drums, and that doesn't include like a room full of percussion and timpani and surdos and junes and all that kind of stuff.
So, I mean, keeping track of what's where in the warehouse must be the most incredible job. I mean, how many staff members do you have,
Well,
Ross?
I keep it pretty lean.
Do you?
At three
Wow.
people. Yeah.
That's
I would rather have three guys that I can pay enough money to keep them happy
mm,
than have six guys who are kind of hit and miss or who don't really,
yeah,
feel like they're a part of it. They're not really a part of the team.
yeah.
So I try to keep it as lean and as mean as I can. Um, but that being said, when I'm in town, I work almost every day.
Mm.
So, my wife will attest to that. And she's not after 40 years, she's over it. Let's just put it that way.
And as far as like edges and refinishing, how did you learn that skill? Was that something you learned whilst you were still playing, or is that something you taught yourself later on?
I just taught myself that. I just got in there and started experimenting.
Jumped in the deep end, as they say.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you have many
And
failures before you got it right?
the thing about a failure with the edges, uh, I'm in a very unique situation where I can do the work and then take it to a session at like, a world-class studio with a great engineer
Mm.
and see how it stacks up. And I can hear it and say, "Oh wow, that the edge on that 13, I cut that a little too sharp because it didn't resonate the way I wanted to at that lower tuning." So I'll make a note of that when the set comes back. I'll redo the edge, and so I can do it, make it sound as what I think is great, but then test it when I put it in the studio, and that's a real win because most people don't have that opportunity.
And most people don't have the ears to do that either. I'll be honest. That's a special skill. It really is.
Yeah, I really focused in on that early on. I really wanted to be. I mean, the thing is, when I started it, that was my edge. My edge was the fact that it wasn't just a set of 80s Gretsch drums or a set of 1970 Ludwig drums. It was that I knew what to do to the shells, what to do to the inside. I mean, nobody was packing the inside of their lugs back then.
Mm.
That was that was like something that people found out about later, and the way that. And the other thing I got a chance to do was experiment with heads. When you're able to experiment with a bunch of different heads, and sometimes I'd get I'd be working with Keltner and he'd say, well, I don't want it the way you normally do it. I want you to do something different. Let's do this. This is what I want the heads to be. And because he wanted something different on there, it was my job to make it cool. And Jim's whole thing is he doesn't want it to sound like anybody else. He wants to be unique. And a lot of times, yeah, it's quirky and weird, and it's not what somebody else would want. But when you hear him play it in the song, it comes off as genius. I mean, he has a vision that is unlike most other people. And he'd be like, he would be like, yeah, what you did for Porcaro on that session yesterday was great, but that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for this. I want him to ring. I want him to growl. I want him to have a little extra buzz or rattle or something. I
I
want him to
think
have some quirk you know?
Things you'd normally work hard to get rid of.
Exactly. Exactly. So, but that was a learning experience for me.
Mm.
And I take that into other sessions. And um, I work with Chris Dave from time to time. He'd
Okay.
be a good guy. Have you interviewed him?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, you got to get him. He's really good.
Oh, I'll try. I'll
And
do my best.
yeah, oh, he's a real talent. Uh, but he sort of took that Keltner thing to and he took that mentality and did it his own way. Like he would call me up and say, "Bring me your worst set of drums and bring me a bunch of tambourines." And he would hang tambourines like on his bass drum. So every time he hit his bass drum, you'd hear the jingles of the tambourines, which is like the opposite of what most
Yeah.
people want. Most people want it to be clean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he took it, on a tangent and made it his own thing. But great player,
Oh,
and
wonderful player.
and very diverse. I worked with him on. I really got to know him on that big Adele record. Was it 21 or 23? It was her big. It was a big record for her, and it was she had a couple different producers, and I worked on the songs that Rick Rubin did.
Yeah, because I think Ash Stone played on one as well, didn't he? I believe on that. I think I'm not sure. Anyway.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Chris is another really great player, and I've seen him do really, really cool hip hop stuff, and he does a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely on my list. So there you go. I'll tell him I know you. See if that works.
Hey, well, Drum Doctor did it. You should do it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I find this absolutely fascinating. Honestly, it's and I'm just curious. I've got a 70s Heyman kit behind me. Do you have any Heyman in your infantry?
No,
No Heyman drums.
no.
Ah.
But you know who had Heyman drums was Tom Warman.
Did he really?
Tom Warman had a Heyman set that he had me work on for, I forget the band. It was one of those hair bands in the 80s.
Right. Okay. Didn't know that. There you go. I'd have asked him about that.
Now, those are fiberglass, right?
No, these are wooden ones.
Oh, they are wood.
Yeah. Were they Fibes drums, which were the fiberglass ones? I can't remember. Yeah, these are just a wooden. Simon Kirke played them when he was with Free, and Simon Phillips started off on them. So there was a lot of. They didn't last long, but they're great sounding drums. I was just wondering. That was all.
There's a lot of great drums out there that people don't think about, or it's funny how people gravitate towards one certain thing because somebody else has used it and had success. I mean, Noble and Cooley makes a great set of drums, but nobody ever calls me for them. I have two sets of them. They're great sounding drums, but it's like people don't want to know. They don't want to take the leap.
Is it just a fashion thing?
I guess. I mean, I mean, they make a quality drum, and it seems like their snare drums caught on, but their sets never did. It's not like you see them everywhere.
Yeah. What makes you buy a kit? What is there anything in particular you go, that's sellable, that's going to go out? Is there anything in particular, because you got so many? What would you have to see in a kit now to go, I need that, after having 400 and 500 kits already?
Yeah, I'm not really in a buying mode anymore.
Yeah.
I think the last set I bought, it was, I saw it online, and it looked good enough to eat. It was a 1940 Leedy kit in turquoise sparkle that was in really good condition. And what really put it over for me was it was a 22, 13, 16, 18. And the fact that it had that 18, and it was just like, I thought to myself, I'll never get a chance to buy something like this again. So I bought that with the idea that I'd sell something else, to
Never happened.
People have been telling me that for years. I had a client that once told me, he goes, you should wear a T-shirt that says, "Sorry, it's not for sale." I have a lot of people who wanted to buy sets that I just said, man, I just can't sell that.
At least there's no regrets at that point. You've got it all there.
Oh, I've pissed a few people off that I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, just and all of the kits that you've got, do they all eventually make it onto a session or whatever? Do they?
No,
No. So is it always the same few that tend to go out?
no. There's not all of them go out, but and then there are the ones that go out a lot, but most of them go out.
Yeah.
It's every once in a while I'll buy something that it was just so cool I couldn't pass it up, and especially uh, if it's weird and in great shape. Like I was on a Trixon Jag for a long time, and I wound up with I probably have I don't know 9 or 10 Trixon kits I have the Speedfires, the Telstars,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And every once in a while, they'll go out for like a movie or a video. One time, Carla Azar was doing a promotion for MTV Video Awards, and they took one of my Trixon kits, and she was, the scene was she was playing it on the surface of the moon. So they kind of had a visual that they wanted. So people know that I have all this stuff. So every once in a while, I'll get a phone call, be like, "Hey, do you still have that? That whatever. We have a video we want to put it in."
Fantastic.
So
Do you have a rolling bomber?
I had one and I sold it. In a time of weakness,
Oh,
I was having.
any regrets there?
Yeah, the reason I sold it is nobody was calling me for it, and I wasn't making money, and I was having a slow month, and I was like, I had an offer, and I was like, you know what, I need to keep the cash flow going, so I let it go.
So these drums, they need to earn their keep then, really, if they're going to stay. They've got to.
Basic,
Well,
basically, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Do you ever just walk around and go, Jesus, I've got some stuff?
I do. I
Yeah.
do have days like that, uh, especially if it's slow,
Mm,
because if I don't have 3 sessions going,
mm.
then I feel like it's slow.
Yeah, sure. No, I get that.
And you walk into a warehouse with over 400 sets of drums, and none of them are out being rented. You think to yourself, could this be the end?
Oh, dear me. It's mind blowing. We've spoken about Gretch a lot, and one of the huge success stories of the year, obviously, is Joey Waronker doing the huge Oasis tour, which I was lucky enough to catch. Joey kindly put me on the guest list for the first Manchester show, which was huge. Joey had been on as a guest, and he mentioned that you, I think it was an '80s Gretsch that did you. I don't know if you supplied it to him or he bought it from you
He
or you.
he found the shells,
Yeah,
and they were all mismatched, and they all had like big holes where the tom mounts were and the spurs and all that kind of stuff. So he brought me the shells, and I doweled all the holes and smoothed them all out, and then uh, we had to get confirmation from the guys in Oasis
mm.
on the finish, and Joey showed them well, the color that you see on his drums. They decided they wanted that, and it turned out that wrap wasn't being made anymore.
Oh, right.
So we had to go to Del Mar, who were the people who made it, and they did a special run of the wrap for us for that set. So then I wrapped the set, and then I cut the edges, and I basically did everything right on that set. That set was a no hold barred situation where I understood the magnitude of the tour they were doing, and I go way back with Joey. I
Yeah,
mean, Joey used to hang around with Keltner when Joey was a kid.
right.
But when he was little, his dad was friends with Keltner,
Of
so
course.
So here's this young Joey tagging along to his recording sessions and watching Jim work, right? So I started working with Joey when he was, I think, I think he was working with the Beastie Boys when I first started working with him. But he was a young lad, and so we go way back. So when he told me what he wanted me to do, it was fun. It was like a labor of love, and I really took my time and I cut the edges and listen. And what I usually do is I'll cut the edges what I think is right, and I'll put the drums together and I'll tune them up. And if there's something that isn't 100%, I'll take them apart and redo them again. So that way I'll kind of do a test run, and usually it's there. But I think the 14-inch tom on his kit was a little funny. So I took it apart, recut the edge, put them back together, and bingo! It's a killer set of drums. Those are the right sizes from the right year, and you're not really hearing any degrade, whatever the word is. They didn't degrade when
Degradation.
degradation. That's the word. I mean, a lot of times when you have a big hole in a drum like that, you have to do it the right way, and the right way to dowel it is to cut the dowel bigger than the hole, so it doesn't fit in the beginning, and then you have to shave it ever so slightly until it just barely fits in there, and then you have to pound it in to place. So that way it resonates with the rest of the shell. And that's something that I'm letting that secret be known, because no one's ever talked about that before, to my knowledge, that's the right way to dowel it. You can't just throw it in there with putty or glue. It's got to be pressed in, and then you glue it.
Yeah. Well, take it from me, those drums sounded spectacular on that stage. They sounded just incredible.
Good.
And I was with a guy called Keith Keogh, one of the finest drum builders in the UK. He's built drums for everybody, and he said, "That kit sounds amazing," and he knows.
Good.
And so, yeah, beautiful. So the rap, that was Oasis's decision rather than Joey's, then.
Yeah, well, Joey took them the idea.
Yeah.
And they okayed it.
Cool.
So it was,
it's pretty unconventional, isn't it? I like it.
Yeah, it's retro.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I think it was like a Rogers finish from like the 60s or something.
Yeah, superb. But
yeah.
Well, do you know what, Ross? You've got a hell of a story. You really have, and I really appreciate you sharing a little bit of it with us today. It's been an absolute privilege, honestly, and I mean that sincerely. I really do.
Well, thanks for asking. It's fun to tell the stories.
Well, and it's fun to listen to them as well. So, and I know everybody listening or watching is going to enjoy this when it comes out. So, honestly, I can't thank you enough. It's been absolutely fantastic.
My pleasure.
I'll leave you be to enjoy the rest of your day now.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ross. Amazing.